is November the 10th, 2024, and I hope everybody's been having a great weekend so far. It is a overcast day here in South Carolina, and it has been raining and overcast here for the past week. I don't think we've seen any sun in the past 7 days. And we did have a drought up until the first rain that we got. I think it was like Monday or something like that when we finally got rain, and it hadn't rained since Helene had come through, so it had been like a month and a half or something like that since the last time we had rain. So we really needed the rain, but now it's rained like all week long, and it's time for a break from this. We really need some sun to come out. It gets depressing when it's like this. You guys know what I'm talking about, when it's just dreary all the time. It just brings you down, and I just miss the sun being out. I love the sun, and it's nice. I don't mind a rainy day every once in a while, especially if you've had, a long week and you're tired and you just want to kind of just be a bum for the day and lay around. There's nothing better than just taking a lazy day on a rainy day and just chilling out and watching a few good movies and having some nice chili or something like that. But it's time. It's time for the sun. But anyway, before I get into today's video, I want to do something, and this is something that I don't even know if I've ever actually done this before. And I'm not going to go into any details on this. I just, if you feel so obliged, and I'm not, if you don't feel like it, I completely understand. And, just like I said, if you feel so obliged, I could use some prayers for my mother-in-law. And, I know she watches these videos as well. So if you're watching this, we love you. And like I said, if anybody could just throw some positive vibes, maybe some prayers out for her, it'd be greatly appreciated. I truly do believe in the power of prayer. And once again, if you guys do feel like, just saying a quick prayer for my mother-in-law, it'd be greatly appreciated. But, and once again, I really do appreciate it if you do so. Like I said, I really do believe in the power of prayer. And when you get so many people together, with all the same thoughts, I just think it works. And, once again, if you feel so obliged, it would be greatly appreciated. But with all that out of the way, what I wanted to talk about today is, what do you have to lose if you decide to go back to drinking again? Because there's a lot of things that, we do have to lose if we give in to that little person on our shoulder. And I think it's one of those things that, when we start thinking about going back to drinking or using whatever the substance is, we don't often think about all the negative consequences that could come along with it. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, just to kind of bring a friendly reminder of all the things that, could go wrong and the things that we could lose. Because when we do stop using or drinking, whatever that substance is, when we break that cycle of addiction, our life improves in so many positive ways. I mean, it really does. The amount of things that we get are countless. And I've just got a small list of things that I want to talk about today, which I think are rather important ones. But that's what I want to talk about today. In today's video, like I said, it's just basically, this is, it's like a little koozie that my dad made for me. This is back when I used to be a kayaker. He printed this off on one of these printers. They bought me this koozie, but he put these cool graphics on here. It's like a kayak paddles or something, but, once again, I want to talk about things that, that we could potentially lose if we go back to drinking or using again. Because we gain so much when we break that cycle. And, like I said, there's just things that we just don't really think about, especially when, those thoughts are in our head and they're starting to pester us. And when we're really starting to think about, how bad we want to have that drink or use whatever that substance is, that's what we're thinking about. We'll start, romanticizing and, getting those nostalgic thoughts that I talk about all the time. We often go back to that nostalgia. And, I say this all the time, that time at the lake when we had a great day when we were drinking, or that time at the beach that we went with our family and we didn't get too intoxicated and it actually was a really good day and we had a great time. We'll go back and start thinking about that day, and we don't think about all the negative consequences that come along with it if we go back to it again. And like I said, that's what I want to talk about today. One of the first things, that I wanted to talk about is our health. And I've been kind of on a health kick lately, just kind of discussing all the health consequences with drinking and all that kind of stuff. And the reason is because I just got sick again and ended up back in the hospital. So it's kind of fresh in my mind, spending that time in the hospital. I do not like to be in the hospital. I don't think anybody likes to be in the hospital. It's not fun. It's horrible being in the hospital. You lose all your freedoms. You have to ask permission just to go to the bathroom. Somebody's got to be in there with you most of the time to help you go so you don't slip and fall. You're at their mercy of when you can eat or drink, especially if they're saying that you're going to be NPO because you might have surgery. You have to eat whatever the food is that's coming out of the kitchen. And I'll be the first one to say that, hospital food is just not good. There might be some hospitals out there that do have decent food, but most of them, it's just not the greatest food in the world. And, no fault to anybody in the hospital in the kitchen. It's just, when you are, trying to produce a food for that many people, there's so many special diets, people low sodium, low fat, none of this, none of that. Basically every single meal that they put out is, got to be personalized for that individual. And on top of all those personalized meals, they're, especially if you're in a really big hospital, they're bringing that food up on those floors and those carts, and they're opening and closing the doors, and the food just can't stay hot. And, they put those lids on top of the plates, and the food just sits there and just gets soggy and just gets gross. And, like I said, no fault to anybody that works in a hospital kitchen or anything like that. It's almost, nearly impossible to put out great food in that kind of environment. Especially, like I said, with all the personalized meals and everything, it's super difficult. I worked in the kitchen my whole entire life. I know. But, just losing our health, it's one of those things that we don't think about really until it's actually gone. And, like I was saying the other day, when we lose our health, you would give anything to get it back. You could have $1 billion in the bank, and that money doesn't mean a thing to you when you don't have your health, and you would give it all away to get your health back. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the hospital and thought I would give everything away right now if I could just have my health back again. Because when we have our health, we are the richest people in the world. We really are when you're healthy. And, there's a lot of health consequences that come along with drinking alcohol or using whatever the substance is. It destroys our health, especially alcohol. There is just not one positive benefit health-wise for drinking alcohol. And for years and years, there was this idea that, a glass of red wine every day or, every couple of days was great for your, for your cardiovascular health and all that stuff. And they've come out since here recently and said that's absolutely false, and there is not one health benefit to drinking alcohol. Alcohol is a class 1 carcinogen. It can break through any cell in our body. It's fat and water soluble. It destroys every organ in our body. It destroys our brain cells. It's horrible on our health. And, that's the number one thing that you could potentially lose if you go back to drinking again. Because the problem with, like I was saying the other day, the problem with going back to drinking, especially after it's been some time, is that we get that idea that we're going to drink just one day, and it doesn't work that way, because we drink let's say you decide to have a drink. Let's say you decide to have a drink tonight. You'll have a couple drinks tonight, whatever, and then maybe you can just drink 2 or 3 beers or a glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine tonight, and then you do, and tomorrow you go, man, see, look, I was able to do it. I was able to drink just 2 or 3 beers, or I was able to drink just 1 glass of wine, or I was able to have just 1 cocktail. And then you say, well, if I can do that, well, I can do it again. And then the next day or a couple days later, you do it again. And sometimes it happens overnight. We go right back to it, and then the cycle starts, and then we're trapped. And sometimes, alcohol is very deceptive. Like I said, it might be one of those things to where you were able to have that 1 or 2 drinks, and then you go a couple days, and then you have 1 or 2 drinks again, and then you tell yourself, look at what I'm doing. I'm able to control it this time, and then a couple days later you do it again. But as the time goes on, those days or those hours or whatever it is, they start to get closer and closer together. And before you know it, you're back drinking every day again. And, those 2 or 3 glasses of wine or 2 or 3 beers all of a sudden turn into 2 or 3 bottles of wine. Or it turns into a case of beer or a whole bottle of liquor, or whatever it is. We go right back to our old patterns again, and or worse. And you don't want to go back to that again. You just really don't. The next thing on my list is your dignity. When we stop drinking, we can become, we get really proud of ourselves. And, when we go back to that again, we just lose our dignity when it happens. And I'm not saying that anybody that drinks is like a bad person or anything like that, because that's not what I'm saying. So please don't take my words when I'm saying the wrong way. I'm just saying that we lose our dignity, when we go back to it again. Next thing is our family. And this is a big one. And for any of you guys out there who are married, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Our spouses, especially if our spouse, either be our husband or our wife, a lot of times we're the only one that drinks and the other party doesn't. And, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but we get those ultimatums all the time. We often get into arguments about the drinking. I can't tell you guys how many times I was told that if I drank again that, my wife was going to leave me. And I know for a fact that if I ever drank again, it would be over. My wife would just tell me to go, because she's not going to deal with that ever again. But the thing is that, not only our husbands or our wife, but, maybe our mom or our dad or our sister or our brother or whoever it is, they get tired of it. Because often when we're in the middle of active addiction, we lie, we cheat, we steal. We'll do whatever it takes in order to fulfill our addiction. And people get tired of it. And, at some point, people have to cut themselves off from us, because they can't continue to put themselves through the stress that we have created with our addiction. And if there is one thing that I can tell you right now, sitting here right now, is that our family is the most important. Our friends and family are the most important thing that we have, second to our health. Our family is so important. When the stuff hits the fan, our family are going to be the ones that are going to be there for us. Our friends often will be there for us too, but when things really get bad, when things really get tough, it's our family that are there for us. It's our family that are going to be there standing beside you, standing beside our hospital bed when we're in the hospital sick. And, you will have some friends and stuff that'll come see you and stuff, but our family, they're so important. And, why risk losing them? You just do not want to have to go through that. I've known so many people in my lifetime that have lost their spouses because of addiction. So many people. And I don't think any of them have ever been like, man, I'm glad that happened. Every single one of those people that I know that have lost their spouse due to addiction regretted it. And still to this day regret it. I know people that lost their spouses 20 years ago because of addiction, and they still regret it. I have a good friend of mine who's an older gentleman. He's in his late 70s. And his first wife, when he was in his 20s, I think he was married to her and through his early 20s into his early 30s. And he lost her because of addiction, because he has AUD. And still to this day, he still talks about it. And you can see how bad it still hurts him when he discusses it, because he loved his first wife. It was the mother of his only child. And, his son is a grown man. I mean, his son's older than I am. I think his son is in his early 50s right now. But, the thing is that, still to this day, he regrets that he lost her. And it was all due to his addiction, because he wouldn't stop drinking. And his wife finally got fed up with it and said, I can't deal with this anymore. And she left. And she actually gave him a bunch of chances. Told him that if you'll stop, I'll take you back. And he tried, but he went back to drinking again. And she finally got fed up and said, enough's enough. And she just packed up and left. And, the thing is that still to this day, he's still friends with her. They still talk all the time. And this gentleman, I speak to him all the time. He's a really good friend of mine. And, it's one of those things I can tell when I talk to him. And he brings it up quite often. I can tell. And he's remarried now. I think he's been married like 3 or 4 times. And he's remarried now, and he's been married to his wife now for 15 years or something like that. But you can just tell that how bad that hurt him, that he lost his first wife. I can tell that he regrets it. And I know that if he could turn back the hands of time, that he would go back and change things. But it's too late for that. And his wife has since been remarried, and I think she got remarried right after, she left him, or not right after, but a couple years later, she got remarried, and she still has the same husband. And my friend is actually good friends with her new husband, and he still keeps in touch with her and her husband. But it's one of those things, he still regrets it, She was the love of his life, and, she's no longer around because of his addiction. And it's one of those things, do you want to lose your spouse, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother? Because people do. They finally do get fed up. They can't continue to deal with the stress that we put them through, especially if we're telling all kinds of lies all the time, or bringing a bunch of extra drama over to their house. Every time we show up over there, we're completely intoxicated, stirring things up, because I know that's how I used to be. When I was a drinker, every time I showed up to anybody's house, I was always drunk. And I always had some kind of drama behind me. And I would bring it with me. And I know my family were just about up to here with it. They were done. If I had continued to drink much longer, I think I would have lost every single thing I had in this life. And who knows where I would be right now if that was the case. But, once again, you don't want to lose your family over this. And it can potentially happen. And with that said, our kids, if you have children, do you want to lose your children? If your spouse decides to leave, especially because of your addiction, especially if you have young children. I'm sure that's going to be a factor, and it's going to get brought up, especially if you go to, court, divorce court. And especially when you guys are discussing, who's going to get the kids. And if you have a problem with alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be, that's going to get brought up. And then it's a complete mess. You got to get sober. You got to prove that you're sober. There's so many things that you have to go through. I know people that have lost their kids because of addiction. And the amount of hassle that it takes for you in order for you to even get to see your kids again, it's insane. And you don't want to have to go through that. And really think about that right now. If you're watching this and you have young children, you don't want to have to go through that. You really don't. And the one thing I will tell you too is that, if your kids are young, especially really young, you would be really surprised what your kids are paying attention to and what they're picking up on. And if you're, arguing with your spouse, you're coming home from work intoxicated, or, you're stopping by the bar on your way home, or you're hanging out with your next door neighbors or your friends getting drunk, or you're just drinking at your house on your own, and you start arguing with your wife or your husband, and your kids are in their bedrooms, and you think it's 11 o'clock at night and they're not hearing what's going on, you'd be surprised what they hear and things that they'll remember. Our kids, they really do listen to what we say, and they understand a lot more than you think they probably do. And, once again, you'd be surprised with the things that they'll bring up later on in life. There's things that my daughter has said, from way back in the day. Times I might have gotten into an argument with my wife, or a time that I came home completely drunk, and she remembers it. Things that I would have never have ever thought that she would have ever remembered, and she does. And it's just the kind of stuff that you just don't want to have to deal with. Another one here, a really big one, is your job. Because if you're drinking like I was, you're drinking at work. You're drinking before work. You're showing up to work hung over, reeking of alcohol. Your performance is not tip-top. It's just not. There's no way that you're giving all you've got and given, the type of performance that your boss requires of you if you're drinking a half a gallon of vodka every night. There's just no way. And at some point, they're going to have to do something about that, especially if, you've been working at your job for a really long time. Let's say you've been working at your job for 20 years, and your AUD started to get out of control over the past, let's say, 5 years. And 15 years before that, you were a top performer. And now, your drinking started getting out of control. Your performance has started to decline. They pick up on that. And you don't want to lose your job because of your addiction. And it can happen. It happens every day. I've known a lot of people that have lost their jobs because of their addiction. I mean, as a matter of fact, my next door neighbor, where I used to live at before I lived at this house, was a school teacher. Had a great job. And he didn't have a problem with alcohol. It was opioids. And things got completely out of control for him. And not only did he lose his wife, but he lost his job. But he actually lost his job first. And then he lost his wife. And then he lost his house. And he lost everything. Excuse me, I've got indigestion right now. But he lost everything. And I watched it all happen before my eyes. I watched everything happen. I mean, he was my next door neighbor, and we were actually really good friends. And back then, I didn't quite really understand. I just didn't really know much about opioids, painkillers, and that kind of stuff. I just didn't know anything about it. It just wasn't on my radar. So I didn't really know what was going on. I would see him doing that stuff, but I just didn't know anything about it. And this was back in, like around like 2008, 2009 or something like that when this was happening. It just wasn't like big in the news and all that kind of stuff. I just really didn't know that much about it. So I just didn't really pay that much of attention, I guess. But I paid attention when I saw everything start to fall apart around him. And, the thing is that, he was taking those prescription medications. And I don't know what happened. I guess maybe he got cut off or something. But he actually moved on to the needle and started using the thing that starts with an H. And, man, everything started to crumble from underneath of him at that point. I watched it all unfold. And it's such a sad story. I mean, everything fell apart for that gentleman. And then his parents passed away, and it's a really sad story. But, he lost his job, and I've known a lot of people that have lost their jobs, and you don't want to lose your jobs to that. And then on top of it, if you lose your job because of your addiction, people talk, especially if you're in a small town like I am. People are going to talk. People are, it might not be your boss that's going to tell your next employer, but, somebody else could tell them, especially if you're in some kind of field that there's only but so many people in that field. Let's say that you're in the restaurant industry. There's only but so many people in the restaurant industry. Like in my town, there's, maybe a couple hundred people in the restaurant industry, and everybody knows everybody. And if you lost your job because, you have a problem with alcohol or a problem with drugs or something like that, I mean, everybody in the restaurant industry is going to know. And you're going to have a hard time finding another job. And you just don't want to have to go through that because, like I said, it's just going to be really hard to find another place of employment. And you're going to have to prove that you're sober and all those kinds of things. You just don't want to have to go through that. All the things that you have worked for, just think about everything that you've worked hard for in life. All that stuff could be taken away from you. And there's a lot of reasons why. But, just let's say, for instance, your home, your car, everything that you have in your house, if you have a hobby and all the things that you've bought for your hobby, let's say that you're a card collector, all those things could be gone. If you go out and get intoxicated and hit somebody on the side of the road or run a red light because you're drunk driving or something like that and end up in prison because of it, all that stuff's going to be gone when you get back out. The bank's going to repossess it. All that stuff's going to get auctioned off or whatever. You could potentially lose everything that you have. And if you have, worked hard, and built a life for yourself, why throw it all away because, you've decided to go back to drinking for one night? And it could potentially lead down that path. And I know I sound like I'm being dramatic right now, but this is so serious, and it happens every day. That one drink could lead to a whole domino effect of things that could just go wrong. And why deal with that? Like I said, you could potentially lose everything that you've worked hard for in this life, especially your family and your children, like I was just saying at the very beginning. You just don't want to have to do it. The next thing is, and this isn't something that you really lose, but I have to say it. Do you want to have to go through that withdrawal period again? You just do not want to have to go through that withdrawal period again. Really think about, when you really start to think about having that drink, think about how hard it was when you initially quit. I don't know what that noise is over there, but I think it's a raccoon or something. But anyway, let's say you drank for 10 years and you decided to stop. And let's say you've got a year under your belt right now of sobriety. That period of time, we can often forget how uncomfortable it was when we went to stop. Go back and think about that. I want you to really think about how uncomfortable you were for that week or two until you finally broke through those withdrawals. It is not easy, and you're going to have to go through that again if you decide to stop again. You do not want to have to go through that. It is so uncomfortable. The sleepless nights, the RLS, the throwing up, the headaches, the just feeling of uncomfortableness, you feel like your skin's peeling off of you. I mean, it almost drives you crazy. I mean, it really does. The pacing back and forth, you can't get the thought of alcohol off your mind or whatever the substance is. I mean, it's just, you're walking back and forth, you don't want to eat anything, you're throwing up. You can't focus on anything. You want to just lay there and watch a television show, and it's almost impossible to do that. So just think about that. Your physical stamina. When you get back, if you've been drinking for a long time, it really just starts to take a toll on your health. And if you have, been sober for any time, I know you've felt that your physical stamina starts to improve. We can do more things with more ease. You can go on a 5-mile walk without being out of breath. You just feel better physically. And you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose that physical stamina that you've developed over this period of time. And I know I talked about your health and everything like that, but your blood pressure. When we drink, our blood pressure goes through the roof. And if you've been sober for any time now, I'll guarantee you, if you've gone to the doctor, you've noticed that when they take your blood pressure looks a lot better. It might not be perfect right now because you might just have hypertension, it might be genetics or whatever, or maybe too much salt or whatever it is, but I'll guarantee that your blood pressure has improved if you stop drinking, and you don't want to go back to having high blood pressure again, because when we drink, our blood pressure goes through the roof, and it causes so many problems when we have high blood pressure. I mean, just all kinds of physical problems. And you don't want to have to go back to having that high blood pressure again. This kind of relates back to your health again, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, because this is another one of those things that I know if you drink for a long period of time and have gotten sober, then you know what I'm talking about. When we go number 2, when we're drinking, it's a disaster. And you guys, I know I'm not trying to be funny here or anything like that. I'm being dead serious right now. But when we're drinking, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you spend so much time on the toilet. It's diarrhea all the time. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being dead serious. I mean, it is constant diarrhea. And if you have stopped drinking, I know you know what I'm talking about. Everything starts to get back to normal again. And, with that said, just think about how, when you were a drinker and when you did, have diarrhea every single day, think about how that almost imprisoned you. How scared you would be just to go somewhere or on a long road trip or go anywhere where they didn't have a bathroom, or how nervous you would be. Let's say that, you had to go to some event, and I remember thinking, if this place doesn't have a toilet that's accessible for me, I'm not going, because my stomach would be so wrecked all the time. And anywhere I went, I had to know where the toilet was. I mean, that was one of the first things I had to know was, where's the toilet? And, I would have to go in there and spend, let's say that we went to a friend's house for a party. One of the first things I would ask is, where's your bathroom? And then I would go into the bathroom, and everybody else would be partying, and I'd be in the bathroom sitting on the toilet for an hour, because my stomach would be so messed up. And that was every single day. And I don't have that problem anymore. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Now, if I have to take the lactulose, now it's a different story. If I'm on lactulose, it's a completely different story. And for any of you guys out there who have to take lactulose, you know what I'm talking about. And if you're taking lactulose right now, I'm so sorry. But when our ammonia levels get high, we get placed on lactulose. And, I mean, it's what it's supposed to do. It makes you go to the bathroom. And, you know, just being a normal person and not having to go to the bathroom 10 times a day. You know, you get up in the morning, go one time, and the rest of your day's free, and you're not a slave to, you know, your bathroom breaks. Man, it is so freeing when we don't have to worry about that anymore. You know, not just that, just, once again, I'm not trying to sound funny or gross, but you just feel so much cleaner when you don't have to go to the bathroom like that all the time. You know, if you're, you know, like not drinking, you know, you get up, you have your coffee, you go to the bathroom, you take a shower, and you go on about your day, and you feel clean. But when you're drinking and you're running to the bathroom, you know, every hour on the hour, and, you know, you just don't feel clean. You want to take a shower after you do that. I know at least I do, and I know most of you out there probably do as well. You just feel gross the rest of the day, and it's just, you don't want to deal with that. Your money. If you go back to drinking again, you're gonna lose money. You know, not just on alcohol alone, you're gonna lose money because you're gonna be buying alcohol, and alcohol is very expensive. I don't care what it is that you're drinking. If you're drinking beer, if you're drinking wine, if you're drinking liquor, if you're drinking wine coolers or whatever it is, it's expensive. And especially when you start to get up there, like when you really start getting deep in your drinking, you know, your tolerance starts to get really high. So it takes more and more alcohol to get to the place where you're trying to get to. And I know when I quit, you know, right towards the end of my drinking, I mean, I was drinking a half a gallon of vodka basically every day. That was not cheap. And, you're going to lose money. And there's a lot of other reasons why you're going to lose money as well. You know, if you get a DUI, that costs thousands of dollars. And not only the initial DUI and just paying the fine and all that stuff, but then you've got to pay SR22 insurance or whatever. I don't know if it changes by state, but your insurance is going to go up dramatically. And, you know, you're going to have to, it's a long-term, you know, amount of money that you're going to have to pay over a long period of time. There are just many reasons, you know, if you're drinking again, then your health is going to start to decline. You're going to be paying medical bills. The list goes on. But you're going to lose money if you go back to drinking again. And, you know, just like I said in the very beginning of this, you don't want to lose family. And if you're married and you have kids and you go back to drinking again, you know, you could potentially lose your spouse, and you're probably going to end up losing your children. You're going to get to see them, you know, whenever you guys work that out, and you're going to be paying child support, and that's not cheap. I mean, there are so many reasons that you're going to lose money, and I'm not going to sit here and just keep naming them off, but you will lose money, and a lot of it if you go back to drinking again. If you have stopped drinking, you have probably most likely lost weight. And do you want to go back to gaining weight again? You're going to lose that weight loss that you've lost. I can't really think of a good way to say that. That doesn't sound funny, but you're going to lose your weight loss. You're going to start gaining weight again. Alcohol is empty calories. And when we're drinking, we just gain weight. I've talked about this on here so many times, but I used to weigh 250 pounds. I weigh 145, 150 pounds, you know, give or take today. Sometimes I'll get down to 135. I mean, it just depends. But the thing is that when I was drinking, I weighed 250 pounds, and I actually ate less than I do now. And I don't eat much now. And for me to weigh 250 pounds and barely ever eat, it was all the alcohol. Alcohol is just empty calories, and it goes straight to your gut. I mean, it really does. When they say that people get a beer gut, I mean, it goes straight to your gut. you don't want to go back. You don't want to start gaining all that weight back again. Because you feel better. And not just that, but when we stop drinking, we don't feel so bloated all the time. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. That feeling of just feeling bloated, feels like your stomach's about to explode all the time. I remember when I used to drink, I felt so bloated all the time. It was so uncomfortable. It used to like bother me just to stand up because I felt so bloated. There was so much pressure on my stomach all the time. All I wanted to do was just sit down all the time because I felt so bloated. And you just don't want to go back to that. Sex drive. If you go back to drinking again, you're going to lose your sex drive. When we're drinking like that, it messes with our hormones. Not to mention, you're probably going to be too intoxicated to do anything. Why throw that away? As we get up in age, we start to lose that anyway, just naturally. If you're in your 20s, 30s, early 40s, whatever, cherish those years that you have that. I've talked about this before, but because of my health, I have basically no libido at all. And that was not always the case. And I don't want to get too deep into my personal business as far as that stuff's concerned, but that was not the case when I was younger at all. I mean, I have 3 children. And now absolutely, I do not have any desire for that stuff at all. And it's all because of my drinking. I drank to the point to where I got myself so sick that, that's part of my health problems. And my health problems created that. Having diabetes and all the other stuff I got going on. I'm 45 years old with absolutely no libido at all. Do you want to do that? It's such an important part of being a human being. Cherish the time that you have, when you do have a libido. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's kind of like a personal thing, and it's personal for everybody. But it's just one of those things that you really want to, you want to safeguard that as long as you possibly can. Because once it's gone, it's gone. And I don't know. I don't need to go any further on that. You guys know what I mean. Just simple peace of mind. Just having the peace of mind of waking up every day, knowing that you didn't get drunk the night before. You don't have to worry about what you did at the bar. You don't have to worry about getting that phone call of, do you remember what you did last night? Or did you get drunk and maybe sleep with somebody that you shouldn't have? This not kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not talking craziness right now. It happens every single day. People go out, they get to drinking, their inhibitions go away, and before they know it, they're at the bar with their coworkers, and somebody that they would normally not sleep with. Next thing you know, they're sleeping with them, and then there's also the possibility of people getting pregnant unwanted. People are married in relationships and then have children with other people. It's just the peace of mind that you have when you're sober, not having to worry about what you did when you're intoxicated, is absolutely priceless. I'll be the first one to admit it is priceless. Not saying that I ever did those things. I'm just saying, like, I used to go out and get drunk the night before and do a lot of stupid stuff and act the fool, and I would get those phone calls all the time the next day. Do you remember what you did last night? My heart would sink every single time because I had absolutely no recollection. I had no memory of what had happened. Your driver's license. You could potentially lose your driver's license. And depending on what state you live in, but after you get so many DUIs, you can't get your driver's license back ever again. And, you lose your driver's license, you lose your freedom. And that's the next thing I want to talk about. And that's the last thing on the list for today, is your freedom. If you have ever lost your freedom at any point in your life, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. I spent so much time in the hospital, and that is a loss of freedom. Or if you've ever been to jail overnight or for a couple days or whatever, when you're not able to choose or go where you want or eat whatever you want when you want to or do whatever you want, there is no worse feeling in the world than that. Being at the disposal of other people, and when they tell you can and cannot do something, that is no way to live. And that is one of the biggest things that you could potentially lose, is your freedom. Because when we get to drinking, and you might say, oh, I'll never do anything crazy like that and get myself arrested. I just won't ever do it. But when we get to drinking, we don't think. And it might be that one night where, you're on your way home and you did one of these things that I'm talking about, and you told yourself, I'm just going to stop by the store and get myself 1 pint for the night because that's all I'm drinking, and I'm not drinking any more than that. I'm putting these restrictions on myself. And you go buy that pint, because I used to do this all the time, and I know other people do this as well. You go buy that 1 pint, and you go home, and that pint goes down like water. And before you know it, 30 minutes later, that pint's gone. Well, guess what? You want another one or a bigger bottle, because once you start drinking, you don't want to stop. So then you make that decision to hop in your car, and all you're doing is just going to the store real fast. It's 5 minutes down the road. It's 1 mile down the road. It's a half a mile down the road. Whatever it is, I'm just going to go to the store really quick. I'll be right back, and then I won't go anywhere else. It only takes a second to lose your freedom, potentially for the rest of your life. You could get in that car, and it could just be an accident. It could not even have been your fault. But if you're intoxicated, it just became your fault. And if you get involved in an accident and somebody unfortunately loses their life or gets hurt really, really bad or something like that, that could be it. And your freedom could be gone forever. You might not ever walk free ever again. You do not want to end up like that. But guys, that is it for today. I'm already almost 50 minutes into this, and I was trying to do like a 20-minute video today. But this is what always happens. I get to talking and just start going on and on and on. And I didn't do a video yesterday, so I had some more talking to do for today. But I really do appreciate you guys watching today. And once again, if you feel if you feel like it, I would really appreciate prayers for my mother-in-law. Like I said, I don't want to go into why, but I really would appreciate it. And and if not, that is totally understand as well. And with that said, guys, I'll be back tomorrow as normal. Thank you so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday evening. And until tomorrow, I will see y'all then. And I do plan on trying to do a live this week. I'm probably going to try to do one on Friday evening, Friday afternoon, like maybe around 5, 6 o'clock Friday afternoon. So I'll let you guys know as the week goes on. I really don't want to do lives on the weekend anymore. It takes too much time away from my family when I do that, but I don't mind doing them on the afternoon or the evening on a weekday. I might do one maybe on a Thursday. Actually, as a matter of fact, I probably will do it like on a Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, because Fridays, my kids get out of school and we usually do something together. So I'll keep you guys posted. I'll let you guys know tomorrow what day I decide to do a live. I haven't done one in quite some time. I haven't done one since I went to the hospital, so it's been a while. I think it's been like a month since the last live I did. So I'm really looking forward to just getting in there and being able to talk with you guys real time. And it's just been a while since we've done a live, and it gives everybody an opportunity to just chat with each other and all that good stuff. So I'll let you guys know tomorrow, but I'll probably gonna plan on doing it Thursday afternoon. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow, and love you all so much. And until tomorrow, I will see y'all then. Have a great night. Bye-bye.